Hi, everybody. My name is Matt Brown, and welcome to the Discover Your Sensory Intelligence show, proudly brought to you by Sensory Intelligence Consulting. With me on the line again is Dr. Anna-Marie Lombard. Welcome to the show.
Hey, everyone. Lovely to be here again, Matt. Thanks for being part of this.
Yes, I know it's been amazing. Guys, if you haven't caught the first episode, go and check that out. This is episode 2 of a 3-part series. And this is where, in this episode, we're going to double down on sensory intelligence and the role that it plays in your not only your mental health, but your ability to live a more productive, happier, fulfilled work life. And so stick around to the end of the show, guys. We are going to give you something of value. Very important. Value these days is essential. And so stick around to the end. We're going to give you something really amazing. So for our audience, Anna-Marie, that haven't heard about you or discovered their sensory intelligence just yet, which we're going to get into, how do you do all that stuff? Give us the elevator pitch. Who are you? What do we need to know?
Awesome, Matt. My name is Anna-Marie. I'm an occupational therapist, a PhD in healthcare. I have written a book. And my journey has really been around helping people to understand that the world is very overloaded, full of distractions, and we're very much overwhelmed. And we help you to discover your sensory wiring in order to make life easier, to be less distracted, calmer, focused, and more organized. So it's really about being a better version of yourself. And we drill it down to genes, science, environment in a very simple way.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about how you actually discover your own sensory intelligence. So this is based on science, and Anna-Marie, I'd love you to just unpack how does the science behind, me as an example, I've done the sensorymatrix assessment, but if someone's listening to us or watching us right now and they're like, hey, how does this thing actually work scientifically? What does the science tell us about individuals and discovering their sensory intelligence?
Thanks, Matt. That's always a very, very important question. Okay, and guys, I'm warning you, I've done a PhD. I'm still doing research. I can get very carried away with the research because I think it is the fascinating part of the work that we do, but also provides all the credibility to it. Sensory intelligence is rooted firstly in neuroscience. How does the brain work? And the brain is a magical, unique, wonderful tool that each and every one of us have. And no, we don't only just use 10% of it. That's all outdated, also not true. So yesterday. But really, sensory intelligence is understanding all of your 7 senses. It takes information from the environment. Each of these 7 senses have a receptor. And from that receptor, it sends the information through to what we call your central nervous system. It enters the brain at the bottom. And we think, we act, and we do with the top part of the brain. So we don't access that part straight away. We kind of need to work from the bottom up. Same thing, if you need to get to the top of a building, you can't just export or teleport yourself to it. You got to climb in the lift at the bottom, press the button, which takes you up to the top floor. The brain kind of works hierarchical in a similar way. It's quite dimensional, but this is good to understand because the first stuff that the brain would sense and absorb and filter and process all of the sensory information. Then it feels, which is in the middle part of the brain, which is called the limbic system. And then it thinks in order to act, which is the executive brain, the top part of the brain. And the part that we really focus on, there's 2 particular areas of the brain, which is very important. And I want to highlight them because they are directly linked to all of your sensory pathways. One is called the reticular activating system. It keeps us awake, alert. It is basically critical and crucial for our focus and attention. And then it also works with the autonomic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system is where our stress gets flared up, that fight, flight, or fright responses. So all of the sensory pathways have these connections with these 2 systems in order for us to filter to what are we going to attend, what are we going to let go, what is important, what is not important. And that filter process is unique and different for every single one of us. And that's what we assess when we do the sensory matrix. Are you sensitive to noise, which means you will get overloaded by background noise or sounds or yelling children or a loud rock concert? So a set of headphones would be your best invention ever, and even noise cancelling headphones. Or you could have high threshold for movement, which means your body needs movement. You need to engage in sport. You need to be active. You need to get your body moving because that is going to help you to regulate. So we use the term self-regulation quite a lot because we have got capacity to control sensory input through to the brain based on our environment, if we understand it, then to actually change the outcome.
So how does someone discover their own sensory intelligence? So we recognize that it's scientific based or DNA based and unique to the individual. How do I discover it?
Obviously, Matt, I designed a test. I've worked through many tests through research, but the test that I've designed is called the sensorymatrix. So you would go online and then you would complete 120 questions, yes or no, does it apply to you or not? And through that questionnaire, we determine what your thresholds are for each of your sensory systems. And then based on that, we can have a prediction of what is going to distract you, what is going to stress you out. In other words, what should you do less of? We'll also be able to determine what does your brain need more of. In other words, high threshold system. Similar to pain thresholds. If you've got a low pain threshold, you feel pain very quickly. It applies to all of your sensory systems as well. If you've got low visual threshold, you don't like bright colors and too much clutter, as an example. High pain threshold, I'm bleeding. I don't even know that I've scratched myself. Similar to the senses as well. High touch threshold would mean you love to touch things, hug people. You would actually create a lot of texture. You might have a stress ball to play with, or you might be twiddling your hair, or you would actually engage in any kind of tactile exploration with your hands or with your body because it helps you to self-regulate. So it is actually through a test online where we determine that, and then based off from that, we would supply you with insights and strategies.
Okay, so I've done the test. It took me around about 15 minutes. And it was 120 questions, but it's really quick to do. And who is this for? Is this for an individual mom working from home, or is this for a corporate group of colleagues or a team? Who should take this matrix assessment?
Matt, I know that's that ever question, everyone, and I know it's not for everyone. Everyone keeps on telling me, Anne-Marie, you can't solve the world's problems, although I'm trying very hard to do that. It depends what your need is. We can use it for parents because the strategies and the reporting that we give you is firstly to understand yourself. So if you want to understand your stress risk, we can determine your stress risk. If you understand your general behaviors and what environment is best for you, you can use that. Then for each of your sensory systems, we would tell you sensory snacks, sensory diets, and sensory ergonomics. I love those. They're very simple. Sensory snacks, what are the quick things that your body and your brain need in order to self-regulate? Sensory diets, what type of activities should you be doing that works for you? And by the way, just something that I've done so often, the gym is not the best environment for everyone. So there are some people that I've looked at their matrix results and like, don't go to the gym. It's smelly, it's busy, there's too much happening. And then people are like, thank goodness, so I can get rid of the gym, find something else. Okay. So sensory diet, what is the best type of activities for you? And sensory ergonomics, how do we adapt our environments so that they're more conducive for us? But then we've got sensory strategies for home, sensory strategies for work. So a mum who is not working and really feeling highly stressed, anyone who feels like they're not reaching their potential, life is stressful, they're feeling overwhelmed, they're feeling overloaded. Number one is a best person to do the sensorymatrix. But then secondly, the results that we've had with people working together, not understanding each other, having conflict, not really being productive as teams is another layer to this, which is a phenomenal way for people to work together to understand what should we do, how should we communicate, what works for this person, what doesn't work for that person. So both individuals and teams, but usually individuals and teams that's exposed to a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, a lot of demands that feels that sometimes life just gets too much for me, then this would be a really good tool to use.
So basically everybody. I mean, does anyone listening to me right now not have a time in their minds where they felt overwhelmed? I mean, I think like literally 2 days ago, I was like, damn, I'm so overwhelmed. And I think becoming self-aware around how am I unique and what role does my environment play in terms of my best self and my ability to live a more productive, happier work life, either working from home or in a corporate or a combination of both. So this test is what does that. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So Anna-Marie, I actually did the assessment, which took me about 15 minutes to get through 120 questions. I'm very curious to get my results. I'm going to bring up the report for everybody so that they can see the kind of results that they will get for themselves if they choose to take the matrix assessment. So let me bring it up on screen. I know there's concepts like roots and leaves and things like this. So walk us through, Anna-Marie, while I bring up the report, which I haven't actually seen or fully understood yet. So walk us through my results and connect our audience to their sensory intelligence. Off you go.
Okay, great stuff, Matt. Okay, obviously, and if I look to the side, guys, I'm very much a visual processor and a visual learner. So I've also got Matt stuff going on my side. So, and I'm also visualizing just the process. So, Matt, you're a trunk, and the tree analogy is just a phenomenal way of making this easy, digestible, and user-friendly for people to work with. So, as I've said, we've used the tree analogy so often. It's great for teams, but to understand from a trunk point of view, a trunk is the key part of a tree that connects the roots with the leaves at the top. So if we think about roots are deep down in the ground. It's cool, it's calm, it's quiet, it's dark. There's the odd earthworm or a mole, but I mean, it's usually a quite neutral warmth and a quiet type of a space. That's typically our roots, our low threshold group. They like to be deeper down, in a little bit of their own space and hiding sometimes, but very sturdy, very thorough, and they anchor the tree. To the other end are the leaves. The leaves are brown, they're green, they grow, they fall off. The birds, the butterflies come and visit them. They've got the sun, the wind. So there's lots of activity that goes down in the leaves, obviously, and that's our high threshold group, our sensory seekers. And then the trunks are the sensory neutrals. Now, often the sensory neutrals will look at people and say, really? Do you feel your sock inside your shoe? Or do you hear the sound? I don't even hear it. So a neutral trunk position means, Matt, that your brain doesn't seek out or avoid sensory information. But there are some nuances in your score, and you are what we call a true trunk. So your auditory score is a little bit towards the lower end, so a -4 for auditory, which does mean if there's too much noise around, and if you are having a bad day, noise is possibly the one thing that would create irritation for you, or I'm tired now, I need to take a break. So with your results, it shows that your most aversive responses and your most irritation will probably be around the sense of noise, too much frequency of sounds, and when there's too much of a noisy environment. So that's your lowest score, which means that is your biggest stressor. I don't know if that makes sense to you, Matt.
It does. So you're basically saying to me, Anna-Marie, that I'm kind of in the middle here, and that because as you touched on, there's 7 senses, right? And so what this is showing us is the results of my 7 senses, of which auditory I scored -4, meaning, if I'm understanding you correctly, that if I have young children in my work environment continually making noise or playing PlayStation or something like that, that is most likely the sensory input that's going to contribute most negatively to my work environment. Is that correct?
Exactly. That's exactly correct. That's exactly correct, Matt. So you want to kind of control your noise as much as possible. But now remember, you've got a -4. Someone with a -8 should not have even that in their environment. Their level of irritation and their level of stress would be higher. But then I also want to show you've got a visual +2, which means your brain processes visual stimulation very easily. So you might like to watch TV, or you might like to read, or I don't know, even play games. So anything where there's visual stimulation, you actually might like that. And when I met you, Matt, your whole background and stuff was red. So I know you in a bit of a different environment. So red is a stimulating color. So the fact that I've associated red with you very much is aligned with visual +2. It means your brain processes visual information pretty easily. But just from a visual point of view, your background today, my background looked like a +2 for visual. This is a +2 visual. So it's a busy background. This is my office. This is my true real space. I don't have a screen. This is my real space. So it's more busier. It's more engaging. Your background is more like a -2. It's clean, it's calm, it's quiet. There's not really anything around that. So just think about visual. It could be how many windows you've got open on your computer. What's your desktop background? What kind of wallpaper do you have? What calendar view do you use? The higher your threshold, the more visual information you can tolerate. So if you're +2, Matt, it also means that you can engage with a lot of visual information, and you probably will have lots of stuff in your environment, and you might have a little bit of a organized clutter, as we said, and your brain easily could navigate between that. It might also mean that you would work with highlighters or different colors if you write stuff down, because your brain seek out visual information. Touch -1, so it's either or. Touch is our social sense. So the lower the touch score is, the more we kind of like our own personal space. The higher the touch score is, the more we like to have people within our space. But for you, it's a -1, so you like either or. You've got no particular preference. Smell and taste +2. So cooking or using perfumes, any kind of smell or spicy food with a +2, it means your brain usually like that, but you're still within that mid-range, so you won't have such a strong preference to it. Movement +1, multisensory +1, which means your brain very easily navigates your environment, and your total score is a +1, so you are a root. You're a trunk, sorry. You're a trunk.
Yeah, call me trunk from now on.
With the exception of your auditory score. And I kind of want to make a prediction here. I know we haven't discussed your results yet. I know you've just moved, and you've moved countries, you've moved continents. Okay, so I could just imagine, and I've been there many years ago, so I know the level of displacement that is happening. With your type of scores, you possibly are very even-keeled, you approach it in a very adaptable way. You are possibly the one that look at the bright side, that can mediate. When your family is struggling, you're possibly the one that can come up, well, we can do this or we can do that. Trunks are very neutral, they're very flexible, they're very adaptable, and they're excellent mediators, because their brain has got the capacity to move down to the roots when it needed, or to move up to the leaves where that's also needed. But your neutral response means your brain doesn't get overloaded by information that quickly, with the exception for auditory, and neither do you seek out a lot of sensory information, which means this even keel, flexible, adaptable approach would make any kind of change for you fairly easy to navigate. And yes, you are true mediators, if that helps.
So I just a couple of questions, and I think this might actually help our audience understand a bit more. So this is obviously one page of a very in-depth report, which is 26 pages long. So we're looking at the kind of key conceptual outtake here for this particular episode. And so I just wanted to quickly touch on these things here on the left. So you've got high threshold, medium threshold, and low threshold. So obviously, as we've touched on, I'm a trunk, then you've got roots and leaves. So if I am a medium threshold, or a root in this case, what is the best work environment for me? Is it a hybrid work environment, Anna Marie, or is it working from home? Is it, working in a dedicated office space? And I'd like you to touch on my results, but also just to paint the context of working from home or hybrid or working full-time in an office as this relates to this concept here around high threshold, medium threshold, and low threshold. I would love it if you could unpack that for us.
Absolutely. So Matt, with you being a trunk, you're like 50-50. You can do both. So you can be in the office 50%, you can be at home 50%. You could also be in the office 80% and at home 20%. You could also be at home 80% and 20% in the office. With your type of result, there's a lot of flexibility that you have. However, if we look at the roots, the low threshold group, and we did say we will look at your producer's results, which is drastically different to yours. Low threshold people who's more in the root element should have the 80-20% principle, 80% at home, 20% back in the office. Because your home environment, and now we're considering that your home environment is conducive. You have an office space, you've got a dedicated space, and your home is a positive space. Then being in your home environment as a root is ideal because you can control it. You can close the windows, you can close the curtains, you can turn down the volume of a radio in the background, or you can switch it off. You can close your door. You've got a lot more control over your environment. So from a work environment point of view, our roots definitely flourish working from home. And I've had so many clients over the last year or so told me, I loved lockdown. I loved social distancing because the roots love their own space. They're very meticulous. They've got amazing, amazing strengths, but their environment needs to be contained, structured, and predictable. Okay. So Matt, you easy. You are, any kind of environment's dream because we can plonk you anywhere and you're just going to make it work. Okay.
Fantastic.
The high threshold, the leaves should go back to the office. 80% at the office, 20% at work. They get bored at home. They are the ones that really complain about serious cabin fever with lockdown and with home working. So that group definitely need to go back to the office. They need the stimulation.
So, Anna-Marie, let's actually take a look at my producer's results. So the guy who produces pretty much the whole Map Round show and will be producing this series as well. So I have shared the screen here. So his name's Mav Chetty. And you're saying that, well, I can see based on the results immediately that he's most definitely a low threshold individual. He scored a visual -6, auditory -7, etc., but overall -29. So he, based on my understanding, is very different to me. So I'm very adaptable, etc. But you're saying he should be working from home most of the time. Is that correct based on the data here?
Absolutely, Matt. Math would be brilliant, absolutely working from home. Because if he's in his home environment, there's a lot more predictability, there's structure, and he can control what's happening in his environment, and he will thrive. It's also very interesting for me if I just look at his role in your show. So he's obviously the guy that sliced up the information afterwards. He's possibly listening to nuances in this call that you and I would totally miss. I mean, I've got high thresholds, so I wouldn't even hear it. So they are the group of people that can read between the lines, that can hear between the lines. So the quality that he's most probably going to add to you putting the show together afterwards will be absolutely brilliant because his attention to detail is going to be phenomenal. Because roots with this type of profile, they over intake information. They hear things that other people don't hear. They see things that other people don't see. They've got low sensory threshold. Their brain absorbs more sensory information. So by default, they've got a lot more information that they gather that they can use as an example. But you'll possibly also see Matt would say, no, we can't do that. He always usually thinks before he would give you an answer because he sees the bigger picture. And as I say, he assimilates a lot more information. So they often are very detailed, very structured. And as a producer working in the background, that would work really, really well for him. He possibly would not feel comfortable, Matt, being in your shoes, having to navigate maybe sometimes different territory or different people or unexpected stuff happening. Our roots doesn't like surprises, things that happen unexpectedly. So they love the predictability and the routine. But he would be phenomenal in adding the structure and detail value to the shows that you are producing.
And he does.
You might find that he processed things meticulously and carefully, and you sometimes might feel, come on, Mav, move a little bit faster. But his attention to detail does mean that he doesn't make mistakes, most likely.
Not all the time. He's not perfect, but no, but nobody is. So but I think
nobody is.
But what I do know and what I can attest to is the fact that he needs a dedicated space that he can earn. Because when he's producing content and shows and things like this, like he needs to be focused with no interruptions. So he needs a controlled environment that he can make his own. So that's why he works from home currently. And that way he's more productive. And I think, as the producer of the Matt Brown show and of your show as well, he's able to perform at a higher level. And we're going to, in the third episode, guys, we're going to get into the link to all of this to business performance. So I want to kind of stop here, Anna-Marie, and kind of give the offer to our audience. So as I touched on upfront, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to give you an amazing offer today. So as we touched on, sensory intelligence is really important, and discovering your own sensory intelligence is equally important too. So we've got an amazing offer for you guys today. So Anna-Marie, I'm going to bring it up on screen, but I'd love it if you could walk our audience through exactly what is this offer and what should they do.
Obviously, Matt, yes, we want people to be able to experience sensory intelligence in this true personalized form. So obviously with this report, you will get a whole range of easy, simple, practical steps to take to actually work with your threshold. So we've decided, and it's also been my birthday month, we've decided to do a buy one, get one free. So if you buy one sensorymatrix, you can have another one to gift to someone else. So and people always ask me, Anna-Marie, so how come we always seem to end up with a partner that's different to us? I don't know. Opposites do attract, I think. So we always have a root in relationship with a leaf, or vice versa, or a trunk with a root, or a trunk with a leaf. So it's really interesting to understand yourself and your partner. So you can buy one and then get one free. So you can do your own sensorymatrix and then someone else can do it for free. So you will get two for the price of one. And we've extended that to our corporates as well, to any business who wants to really help their people towards better productivity, better teamwork. It's a phenomenal team building tool to understand how we are different. And we've just extended it to corporates as well. If you're a group of 50, and you want to do everyone's sensorymatrix, then you only need to buy 25 and you'll get 25 for free. Or if you want to do 500, you pay 250 and you'll get 250 for free. If people buy one and get one free, that's all automated on our system. But if you're a corporate and you want to buy in bulk, there is an order form attached to it. So you'll just have to pop us an email and then we can actually process that for you manually. But it's open to anyone listening for either an individual or a group. Buy one, get one free.
And the link, ladies and gentlemen, is learn.sensoryintelligence.com/sign up. The cost is $59, but obviously you get to gift one to someone you care about as well. So thank you, Anna-Marie, for that. I really understand now exactly how my sensory intelligence is unique to me, and how I can actually adapt. So that actually makes sense for me, and how my producer is different. And I think we're all different. And I think, when we understand and become self-aware of how we are different, we can actually then take steps to address our unique work environment, and so that we can become happier, more fulfilled, more productive employees or entrepreneurs, or whatever that looks like for you. So Anna-Marie, thank you for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, catch you in episode 3. We'll see you there.